the second module for selection statements unit in Java. So the other types of operators that you can use, because sometimes it's the case that you want to check to see if a Boolean expression is true or false. That means one thing is true and also another thing is true. For example, gender is the logical equivalent of 1 and age is greater than or equal to 65, where, 1 might be defined as female or male. And so you want to check that both of those things are true. So logical and, you can use a double ampersand or a single ampersand. A logical or is the key that is right above the enter key. If you hit shift and that / key, you get a double straight line, or you can use a single straight line. If you're familiar with those logic gates, inclusive OR is a single line. An exclusive OR is something that we've historically in math think of as the caret key for taking powers. But in Java programming, you see it actually is exclusive OR. And then not, we talked about in the last module, is the exclamation point. That means not. It's not like a permutation or a anything that you're familiar with using that exclamation point in Java. It just means not. And then you see in the document that I've summarized kind of truth tables in case you're not used to those. If the expression 1 is false and expression 2 is false, when you add them together, they're false. And so on. So you can take a look at those if you need to. And then there's a couple different ways that you can provide choices. Probably the most common is by using if statements or if else statements. And the way that they work is, here's an example here. This is just an example if a person is an integer that stores a person's age. If that's less than 16, and the variable years away is set equal to 16 minus person, because that's how many years away they are. And then I have a couple messages coming out. And so there are a couple of examples in here. Here's a big long example. If grade is greater than or equal to 90, then the letter is equal to A. Notice that then I have this else statement in here. Else if grade is greater than or equal to 80. So this would be the case that grade is not greater than or equal to 90, which means it's less than 90, and at the same time greater than or equal to 80, which means it'll be between 80 and 90. And that's how the else if works. Notice that after an if statement, there is no semicolon, and that's because this is technically all one big long statement. It's just for the human eyes that we put it on two different lines. Our computer doesn't necessarily need to see it that way. I like to line things up. The semicolon comes after the full statement. So if we were in a new program, again, I like to type in pseudocode. So this program is going to provide users with a couple questions and then determine whether the answers are right or not. So the information that I have to get from the user is I have to get the answers to two questions. So I'll have to ask the question, read in the answer. And so and then make calculations, determine whether the answers are correct or not. So it's not really a calculation necessarily. It's just a determination, and then let the user know. All right, so if I'm going to ask two questions, I'm going to have to import because I want to use JOption pane for that. And so do you see how this could guide me through that? I need to get information. Well, if I'm going to say question 1, Well, then I better define that as some kind of variable. So question 1 is going to have to be a string. And that's going to be some kind of string answer. And then question 2, it says is multiple choice. So maybe I'll have question 2 be char. Now, um, remember that if I'm reading something in, it has to be a string. So either I'm going to have to parse off that first letter, or I think probably a more eloquent way of handling that is even though it's going to be a char, I can read it in as a string. That would be much easier for me. And then you can go ahead and ask the question either using a system out or a J-option pane. Certainly a J-option pane would be prettier in this case. So, but then I have to import and so on. So I think at this point everybody knows how to do that. I have several key-ins for you to take a look at. The first one is called bigger, and this one just helps you see how the comparison symbols work. The whole purpose of this is just for you to run through and see how those work so that you can compare two numbers that I've declared as doubles up here with each other. And then I see I don't have any string comparisons, but it'd be nice if I did. I think that comes up in one, oh, compare strings. Braces shows you the effect of braces. Something to take into effect is watch what happens when you run this program and then put some braces in and see how that might change it. And there's questions sort of leading you to that. That's my hint. Char switch. And notice that I always put a purpose of the program up here in case you're wondering what the program does. This program reads in information and performs a switch. So a switch is another type of um, method. Instead of using if else, you can perform a switch on integers or characters. Those are the only two variable types that it'll accept. So here I had to first convert that string to one character. I just picked off the first character. And then I performed a switch on it. Switch is a keyword and it takes in the variable that the person entered. And then it says in the case that they entered an A, message gets turned into that. Break is another keyword. You have to use that at the end of every case. In the case that they entered a B, message is B and then break. Default means what if they didn't enter an A or a B? And then this message would be, I don't know what to do. So you can run through that and see how a switch case statement works. Compare strings illustrates how to compare two strings with each other and how that's different. And it is very different than comparing integers or numbers or characters. And then I have a comparison that will compare all different kinds of things. A program called grade, which you're going to have to modify from a switch case statement to an if else statement. And the hint that I'll give you there is when you get to this program, go back and look at the handout that I gave you, and that'll be very helpful. Okay, when you're all done reading through about whatever you need to read through about. Your assignments are on the very last page. There are 4 of them. And good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.